Happy Monday, YoYo World, and welcome to YoYoSkills.com video review. This week, I was able to play the Aoda Immortal star. It's also been called the Eternal star some places. Immortal, Eternal, kind of the same thing. It is this yo-yo right here, which transforms into this. There it is. Now, you can put all the pieces, hear that? Alright, now let's some of the various pieces of the yo-yo have, because the axle for the top part is obviously too long to work in a yo-yo configuration. So what they did was they give you a long axle, a short axle for it in yo-yo configuration, and then the hub stacks have to be held on by these little screws right here. Alright, the hub stacks are this outer piece right here. Let me show you. Right, so this is the hub stack. It's a metal stack. It fits on the inside post of the yo-yo cup. There we go. Like this. Right. And then you have to screw it in place using one of these screws that they give you. And you have to do this every time you transform the yo-yo. So it's not quite yo-yo that transforms like a transformer. More like a yo-yo that's a pain in the butt to transform. Because you bring it in and people go, "Oh, what's that?" They go, it's an Immortal star or Eternal star from Aoda. And they say, "Oh, is that the one that changes into the ball?" Yeah, it is. Can you show me? Alright, I guess. And then 5 minutes later you change it into the ball and they look at it and they go, "Huh, cool." It's not very convenient. It takes quite a while to get it from the yo-yo to the ball. And then you're always dropping parts because everything's so small, and the packaging doesn't come with a screwdriver, so you have one with you to make it work. But yeah, you know, the first time I saw this, I went, "That's awesome!" But the first time I heard Milli Vanilli's "Blame It on the Rain," I thought it was awesome too. Blame it on the rain. So I mean, first impressions aren't everything. There you go. It's a shot of it without the bearing there. Let's see if you guys can see this here. There you go. There, now you can see it. Right inside, you can see the profile. All right. It actually looks pretty good with the screw in there. I like it better than the naked stack right there. So that screw. But if I were to throw this around, that screw would probably get loose, and then when I needed it, it'd be just like, woo, off into the grass, never to be seen again. One of the problems that I had was that when you take this yo-yo apart, and it's in yo-yo form, and you're trying to put it back together, it's really hard to keep that axle from going all the way in on one side of the bearing. So when you screw it together, the axle turns, and it goes deeper in the bearing half, and it's very easy for the axle to end up all the way on one side and only just one or two pieces of teeth of the axle on the other side of the yo-yo, which if you catch it wrong could snap your axle or strip your threads. So what I recommend doing is putting on your stack first. And what I actually found was that since in stacked form this yo-yo is 80 grams, it was way too heavy for me, way too loud. It vibrated on a throw because it was way too heavy and way too loud. It was not enjoyable to play with, and most importantly, it was just painful. I mean, I'm still kind of a young guy. I'm not old man Smithers just yet, but you know, when you're throwing around 80 grams, you know, my wrist can only take so much. So if you're going to put it together and you want to use the stacks, put one of the stacks on first, at the very least. Okay, so you put the stack on there, and then you have to screw the thread in for the screw. Yeah, you have to screw the screw in basically. So you have to use a tool to do that. Now what I have actually found is that the yo-yo plays a lot better without the stacks. It's only 59 grams, it's kind of light, but it plays very speedy and a little bit floaty, which is a nice cool combination that a lot of people really like. So what I have found is the easiest way to put it together when you're doing it in non-stacked yo-yo mode is take the one of the screws that holds the stack in place and just start putting it into the thread on the opposite side of the axle, like that. And this will keep the axle from going any deeper down than it's supposed to. Pop on your bearing, grab your other half, boom, you're good to go. In this configuration, the yo-yo is only 59 grams, like I said, and it fits very nicely in your hand. It hits right on the thumb pad right there. It's your thumb pad. When a lot of people ask me when I meet them in person, Chris, you always talk about thumb pad. What is a thumb pad? Is this the thumb pad? Well, this is a pad of your thumb. This is the thumb pad I'm referring to. It's the meat coming off of your thumb. This part of your hand is still part of your thumb because it moves that joint inside of there, right here. You have another joint for your thumb down here at the base. And this pad right here is where a lot of the catching of the yo-yo happens, and when you grip the yo-yo like this, that's where it's hitting. So that's the thumb pad right there. The classic style catch zone with a concave in, very slight concave in, it's very hard to see on the pictures that I'll have below the review on yoyoskills.com. You'll be able to see those up close and personal. It's the same pictures I published a few months ago in my captured. So I'm just going to use those pictures again because I like the way they turned out, and it already showed off the details of the gap. So you have a very slight concave in, just a little teeny tiny bit. It's more like it's flat. It looks like it's flat, but it actually just dips in just a little bitty bit, and then curves up to another flat surface, which is the response area. In the Immortal Star, the response system is this rubber pad right here. And you can kind of get the idea for elasticity of it. It's more of plastic than it is rubber, but when you stretch it out, it doesn't lose its elasticity, and you don't get any of that fraying that you see in a lot of really cheap rubber pieces. And you just pop that in there, boom, you're good to go. So the response on this one, I've had this yo-yo for about 2 months now, and the response has held up. I mean, a lot of people have tried it, and a lot of people have played it, and it's gotten probably a good number of flight miles in on it, and response wise, yeah, it's held up. The bearing seat is a little bit deep. Again, you can see that on the pictures that are going to be below the review on yoyoskills.com. And the bearing will sit above the seat, which is always, you know, a good thing. That there's a slight well there that'll keep gunk off the side of the bearing, which I really like because you get bearing gunk from anything. It could be from humidity that builds up in your environment that you're in. It could be grease from the bearing if you like to lube up your bearings. If you have one of those yo-yo cases that uses foam, it could be foam particles. A lot of things can get in between the bearing and the bearing wall, and having a little bit of space there is just a good way to ensure that you're not getting anything pushed up against the side of your bearing that would impede its spin. Alright, so that's the Immortal Star / Eternal Star when it is in yo-yo mode. I showed you what it looked like when it was in top mode, but as we all know as yo-yoers, it's not like a real top. That's the kind of top that you get out of a quarter machine, you know, a little plastic spin down, you go boop, and then it spins for a little minute, and if it falls over, then you know you're not in a dream. But as a top, it's kind of lame, and it's got all the parts inside of it, like the bearing, the string, and the smaller axle and the extra screws and everything. So it kind of like rattles a little bit. It kind of sounds like a baby's toy. More than anything, my friends call it the holy hand grenade yo-yo, because when it's in yo-yo form, it's it's not that bad, but it's not fantastic. And when it's in top form, it looks like a little hand grenade. So yeah, would I take it on an airplane? Probably not in top form. I'd just be honest with you. But people would want to know what that is. And honestly, that's kind of one of the annoying things about this yo-yo, is that if you have it in its ball form, people are going to ask you what it is, and then you got to take it apart and put it all together in, and that process takes like 5 minutes. If Aoda, if you're listening, if you're watching this, one tip I can give you is take this right here and throw it away, throw it into the sun, just get rid of it. This axle right here is one of the biggest problems of taking the yo-yo apart and putting it into ball form or vice versa. Why? Because it's threaded to match the yo-yo right here. If you made this thinner, right, and without grooves, just a thin post, and then on the ends you can have grooves so you can get the axle caps on there. All right. If you did that, it'd be a lot easier to put together and take apart. One of the biggest frustrations of this thing is trying to line it up so you got everything lined up and ready to go as you stack the next part on. But if the whole yo-yo went together like this, when it's in ball form, I would love it a whole lot more than I do. Right now, the fact that you have to untwist this thing, unthread it off the axle, it's a huge pain. So the big question is it worth ordering? Well, as a yo-yo, as long as you play it in a light mode, it's not bad. My final thoughts on it are that it's a fun throw that's light and fast and kind of floaty. As a top, it's ridiculous. It's not a top, it's a ball with a little tip on it. And so it spins like this. If you want to make sure you're not being incepted, then I guess it's appropriate, but in all realisticness, it's just kind of a baby rabbit. I applaud Aoda on an original design. That's something that I really think they did. And they knocked that ball out of the park. Okay, so they knocked that ball out of the park. But as far as a yo-yo goes, it's okay. Is it worth $50? It's really up to you. It's $50 for a yo-yo that transforms. Cool. Or it's $50 for a yo-yo that transforms. It's really up to you. If you want to take the time to have to take it apart and put it together every time somebody questions you about it, or if you go to Yo-Yo Club, you're going to get asked to do it about 30 times, I guarantee you, and you want to put that risk on the axle and the thread system, then go ahead. I mean, it's a unique yo-yo. Probably very few people are going to have them, and it's going to be unlike anything that's available in your case. So in that aspect, from a collector's standpoint of view, it's pretty cool. From a yo-yo player's point of view, it's kind of fun. And from a professional player's point of view, I don't think this will see very much contest play. And that's my take. Hope you enjoyed this very first video review from YoYoSkills.com. Next time I have a yo-yo that I feel like talking about instead of writing about, that's when you'll see me. In the meantime, visit YoYoSkills.com, and if you're on YouTube, links in the blue down below. Later.